guys, and welcome back to another episode of Travis's Musings. This episode is going to be a little different and a little bit shorter than in previous episodes. If you are a listener or a subscriber to the new TSP Tycoons podcast that Brian is heading, you may have heard me mention that I'm going to change up the formats a little bit to try to shorten them and make them a little more topic specific. So we'll get the housekeeping stuff out of the way. Again, we are not financial advisors. We are just regular guys trying to improve our own TSP retirements. If you guys have not subscribed, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button down below, and that'll make sure that you guys see all of our future videos and content associated with the TSPcalc YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be kind of walking through another pointed effort on trying to further my own personal agenda to keep people out of the G fund. And I created a spreadsheet that kind of asks the question, what happens if you retired at basically the worst time in the last 20 years? And what would happen to your money? And it's pretty interesting to look through a graph or through the spreadsheet and take a look at how your finances changed and really analyzing your own fear gauge and what you might have done in this situation. So we will go ahead and swap over to the Excel spreadsheet now, and we'll just do some talking and looking and take a look at the data. Okay guys, so here you can see I have my spreadsheet, and this is not necessarily the worst month. I think I had talked to somebody else. We ran a slightly different scenario that took a little bit longer to recover your funds, but I think this one does a pretty good job of showing how fast and how catastrophic the market can turn during a bear market run. So our fictitious retiree retired in May of 2008. Well, before we go through that, let's go ahead and take a look at our columns here so we can kind of explain it. So year, month, pretty self-explanatory. And here I've got the percentage that it had gone down that month. And so this individual is obviously retired. There's no new contributions going in. And so we're able to do some simple math here to figure out what their balance would be at the end of every month. I used 4166 as my baseline number for their monthly withdrawals. And then I had the loss gain column at the end over here. So if our fictitious retiree retired in May of 2008 with a starting balance of $1 million, because it's a nice even round number, they then saw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the next 9 months were negative, and they were really negative. The one positive month was only a 1% return in December. And if you notice here, in just 11 months, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, we hit the bottom. This individual, in his first year of retirement, watched their balance go from $1 million to $508,126. Now, this individual was still taking $4,100 a month, $4,166. And they were not looking at their account. They were happy, they were retired, and they had faith in the market. And now I should note as well, this is the based on the C fund, 100% C fund balance. The S&P is pretty safe. And I know this isn't necessarily seasonal related, but I think that it's an important educational point. And I do understand that seasonal investing is not for everyone. It does carry a little more risk than buy and hold, but I've stated repeatedly that one of my primary driving forces when it relates to market education is for people to remove themselves from the G fund and get themselves and get their money into the market. It's just my opinion. I've obviously we've repeated repeatedly that we are not financial advisors, but people ask all the time, what should I do with my retirement money? And what happens when I retire? I mean, that's kind of actually how the spreadsheet came about. I was in an argument with my friend about what they should do with their finances when they retire, and I said if it was me, I would just put 100% in the C fund. If I wanted a low maintenance, I'm traveling all the time in retirement. I don't have time to move my money around. Set it and forget it. And I think that's a fair analysis. And he said that was ridiculous. That was a terrible idea. And so in February of 2009, my friend might be looking at me and he might be crying and he might be saying, see, I told you I was right. But note that, again, this person is always withdrawing the same amount. Their lifestyle is not changing. They're continuing on with their retirement. And notice that it starts to turn in March of 2009. And it continues as you scroll down here. We're going to talk about these columns over here on the right in a minute. Let's not jump ahead. And you can see there's a little dip again in 2011. But this guy's just humming along here at $4,100 a month. All the way down here. And look at that. In November of 2013, if our fictitious retiree ignored the huge bear market, did not trade with emotions, which was part of why I also wanted to do this video today, was to kind of touch on emotional trading. We saw a lot of individuals, not only in our group, but in the Thrift Savings Plan group and the Swing Traders group, who are not associated with TSPcalc, but I'm a member at all three of these locations. And there's a lot of people who are doing some emotional trading over the coronavirus. And we talked a little bit in the podcast about the overreaction the market tends to have, and then its short and long-term effects to global pandemics. And they're usually pretty short-lived. And I can't help but think what I would be thinking in a situation where I just retired and within 11 months my balance is half of what it was when I retired. I would be very scared. But it's a very good lesson when you take a look historically about why you shouldn't panic, because you miss the run back and you really hurt your account long term when you yank your money out, because you don't know when the bottom is. And you certainly don't know when the top is going to be to pull it out as well. So notice here that in November of 2013, our individual here went back over $1 million. So now his account balance is more. And I actually adjusted his take home here in January 2014 to $6,000 a month for inflation costs or whatnot. And again, these are pretty arbitrary numbers. I mean, they're right around the 4 to 5% withdrawal originally of the $1 million that people suggest to make your money last. And I didn't run this all the way out to present. When I created this, it was last year. But you can see it continues to grow, and I made it all the way through April of 2019. That's when I made it. And our individual was at almost $1.3 million. And as we all know, the market finished about 20% higher than this here. So he was probably sitting right around 1.5 million, 1.5 million by the time 2019 ended. And this is an individual that watched his account balance halve 11 months into his retirement. Again, this is nothing more than just showing data and showing how emotional trading, while it is definitely scary, and like I said, I can't imagine watching my account balance halve in my first year of retirement. That would be terrifying. And so this is just to kind of show some data points about why it's important to maintain some emotional stability when it comes to the stock market and your retirement. Now let's go back up here, and we're going to talk about this column on the right. This is that same individual in the G fund and their percentage return. And I just did this on a yearly basis because it's easier. That's right. This was 5%. $4,100 a month is 5% over a year. So I just used our individual here, and he took $50,000 a year out of his G fund. And that money ended up running out after 35 years. And some of you guys might say, that's fine. I don't plan on living till I'm, 95. But I think it's really important to not think like that. You're talking about having an opportunity to influence your own lineage and to help your own children and your children's children continue to grow their own wealth and to help future generations prosper. And I think that, part of that comes from good parenting and teaching fiscal responsibility to your children. And the second part of that is helping get them a leg up at a time in their life when, we may pass away and we have an opportunity to get some financial aspect to them that will really help. I mean, I can't imagine the advantages that my children could have if I was able to leave them $1.5 million upon my passing, or more, theoretically. That would be pretty beneficial for somebody, especially if you were able to teach them good money habits and they had their own wealth they were building. You can really start changing your own lineage. And again, that's not the point necessarily for retirement. Everybody has their own goals. I know plenty of people who want to write their last check the day they die and have it bounce. But again, that's your money. But it's just something to think about. Is that while this may be just fine and last you all the way through till death, it really doesn't do anything long term. And historically, the C fund is just as safe, even though it's a little more volatile, obviously, than the G fund. So anyways, that was kind of the discussion today. And look forward a second video that comes out a little bit later in February. And we're going to be talking about our performance. I'm not going to dive into that yet. And we're going to take a look, and we should have a little run in the G fund at that point, and we'll be curious to see how the market responds. So anyways, guys, again, thanks for listening. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button down below, and we'll catch you guys next time.